Da-da-dun, da-da-dun. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Data here. Breaking news in the NHL. What a trade, the blockbuster of the year so far, as the Calgary Flames have traded Elias Lindholm to the Vancouver Canucks for a package that includes Andrei Kuzmenko. We know that there is more going on. We know that Kuzmenko had a no-trade clause and that Calgary was one of the teams on his no-trade clause. He waived the no-trade clause. He is going to the Calgary Flames. Now the question will be, what else did the Vancouver Canucks have to give up to get Elias Lindholm, who is currently a rental player? There is no extension in place as of yet, but it does not mean that there will not be an extension moving forward. So in exchange for a UFA at the end of January, start of February, as opposed to the trade deadline, the Canucks get an extra jump on Elias Lindholm. They get him for a little bit extra. They currently sit atop the NHL. They are currently the best team in the league, and they just got a whole lot better. Who did they give up? In terms of this season's value, not a whole lot in terms of what's helping them today. Andrei Kuzmenko having a very down year. This is a huge improvement for the Canucks squad right now, but the question will be, what else do they have to give up to make this happen? Were there big name prospects involved? Are we talking big names like the Karamakis and the Willanders of the world? Or are we saying maybe a guy like Denis Klimovich, or maybe a Vasily Podkolzin type of thing? Could it be just more draft pick oriented? What direction are the Calgary Flames going to be going in? Because the Calgary Flames just got a whole lot weaker. So Kuzmenko, waiving his no trade clause, is going to a team where he's going to try and maybe reestablish himself a little bit here. Yeah, I agree that it probably wouldn't be Lekaramaki. So hello to everyone joining here for a live impromptu breaking news datacast, breaking news analysis in the real world of hockey on top of all of our franchise mode series. It's been so much Vancouver Canucks content recently with the Lekaramaki career sim and our franchise mode. Isaiah saying, I would have never guessed that the Canucks would get two players within their division and from one of their rivals, including Zadorov, right? The rebuild has started, says Northy. The rebuild has started. Welcome everybody joining here on the stream. Sean pausing the homework to jump in. Data, long time no see. Sean, thank you so much for stopping in. Hope the homework's going well. And let's try and hopefully get an answer soon for what this package actually will compose of. This is confirmed. We do, but the package is not has not been put out just yet. We know that Elias Lindholm is going to the Canucks in exchange for a package that includes Andrei Kuzmenko. What Flames get, and was there anything else going back the other way? That'll be the question. I had to pause my recording here. Yeah, I was recording the next Canucks episode on franchise mode. So yeah, I had to pause that. I had to scramble the jets. Thank you, as always, everyone in the Discord server. I wonder if this is a larger deal that has Tanev involved. Who knows? There's a lot going on. They did get Zadorov already. Let's start breaking it down here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go over to the Twitter world. Let's start looking at what we can start thinking about. While nothing's official yet in terms of the package, we do know that Kuzmenko is being moved for Lindholm, but we know nothing else just yet. So what are we seeing here? Yeah, Kuzmenko waived the no trade clause, of course. Now, let me go ahead and pull up what these teams look like today. The Vancouver Canucks are taking on Elias Lindholm's contract, which is not very much. They don't have any cap space right now, but of course, moving out Kuzmenko is moving out $5.5 million. That's more than enough as Lindholm makes 4 points. Oh, everyone's saying data check Discord. Data check Discord. I don't see anything in the Discord. It says, watch out for Tanev in this deal. I don't see anything in here. So the Calgary Flames have Lindholm making is it 4.85? Let me see here. Yes, 4.85 on Elias Lindholm. So not a problem for money at all. You don't need to have any contracts going back the other way. Nothing needs to happen. Now, who are the Calgary Flames going to be getting here? Andrei Kuzmenko is number one in the package. We know that. Kuzmenko coming off of a ridiculous rookie season. He came over from the KHL, 74.39 goal rookie season last year. One of the best shooting percentage seasons in NHL history. Yes, this trade is confirmed. We don't know what else the package will include, but we do know that these two teams are swapping teams here to a divisional rival. This season, Kuzmenko, 21 points in 43 games is not abysmal for an NHL player on a pace of 40-plus points. But the thing is, he's way below his goal-scoring pace. His shooting percentage is way lower than it was. And he's one of the slowest, actually, I saw a stat, it's of the the players in the NHL who have skated the most distance at the highest speed. I think he's in the bottom 5. So he's not very fast, it seems like. His shooting percentage, which was historically high at 27.3, is now currently sitting at 12.7. Definitely back down to earth. But it's not just that he's not as effective, it's that he isn't shooting as much. He's taken, 63 shots. He's on pace, okay, I suppose for somewhere in the 120 shots, but still. Yeah, I'm going through a lot of different tabs right now, as a lot of people are saying a lot of different things. Working to see if Tanev's in the deal. Rick Dhaliwal is doing that. Okay, thank you, Rick. I believe he was, but it was thought better as a separate deal. Heard the same. So Darren Dreger, let's go back to Twitter. Darren Dreger saying with Rick Dhaliwal that Chris Tanev was thought to be in the deal, but it was a let's revisit this later type of thing. The internet is definitely having a hard time chugging along here, but we're going to try our best. Yeah, I think the Canucks are definitely keeping Lekkerimaki here. So he was in the deal, but it was thought to be better as a separate deal. Heard the same. Gotcha. So Chris Tanev likely not a part of this deal, it sounds like, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks circle back on him. They already got Zadorov. So again, sorry, going back to Kuzmenko, after a historically great rookie season, the amount of advertisements here is ridiculous. He has now been having not historically bad, but just a very bad season after a very good season. If we go ahead and look at the J Fresh here, I really want to see, I want to accentuate, I really want to show you the difference between these two cards. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of time to find it again. But when you look at the season that he had last year, the season he had this year, it's a big downgrade. So that goes into what kind of value did the Flames get here? If they're getting Kuzmenko at his height, they're not getting as much back for Elias Lindholm. But if they can try and weave a story that says Kuzmenko's is we're taking all the risk here, well, then it's a very different story. My goodness, is it hard to find? J Fresh. I guess I'll type it in myself. I don't think Wallander or Lekkerimaki will be a part of this deal with Kuzmenko going back as a part of it, but there are definitely going to be prospects involved here. Let's go ahead, and here we go. Kuzmenko, he's a middle 6 scoring winger who has cooled down significantly after shooting 27% as a rookie. Still a decent contributor, although he's one of the slowest skaters in the league. So we see a huge drop-off in his wins above replacement percentile rank. Still at 80th percentile overall, but from close to the 100th percentile, somewhere in that 90 range, all the way down to somewhere like in that 30 range. So it's a huge drop off one season to the other. His offense, what I was showing before, it's like the offense hasn't changed that much. It's the finishing, probably the best in the entire league at 100th percentile, down to super low now. So of course these numbers are going to be skewed because it's one really good season and one really bad season. I don't know how much power play time he gets, that he's at 0 in the 0th percentile. But just to say, Kuzmenko, I think it's going to be better to look at the 2023-24 stat card. So we see that this year he's been more of a playmaker, it seems like, as the primary assist, the chance assists, all well above average in that 60th percentile, looking good. But when it comes to everything else over here, in-zone shots, rush shots, I'd love to see the difference from last year. Huge difference from Kuzmenko, as things look very different. Cam Robinson saying, hearing from multiple sources that Tanev is trying to be included. Interesting. So it goes to show that Kuzmenko is still a valuable player, but he needs to have a finisher. Now, I'm not sure if the Flames have the best finishers. Take out Lindholm, take out Toffoli, take out Tkachuk, take out Gaudreau. Like, who's their finisher now? Sharon Govich? Is that going to be the guy that Kuzmenko is going to be trying to feed / get something going with? I always thought that, give Lindholm, Jonathan Huberdeau, and now Andrei Mangiapane, who's shown the ability to score 30-plus goals. I was saying, wow, what a year the Flames are going to have, or have in the last couple of years, but they have not been showing that. And it seems as though Elias Lindholm is saying, I'm looking to get out of here. The Flames are a 500 team. They're 22, and 5, I think. Yes, exactly. I'm a wizard. 22, 22, and 5, 49 points on the year. They're definitely still in the mix, but things aren't looking good. If you're 500 and out of the playoffs by the beginning of February, chances are not too hot. Meanwhile, the Vancouver Canucks are the number 1 team in the NHL, 33, 11, and 5, and they just got a whole lot stronger. If we go over and look at the Vancouver Canucks, yes, they're going to have an expiring RFA in Elias Pettersson. Yes, they're going to have an expiring RFA in Philip Hronik. But aside from that, a lot of these UFAs, Tyler Meyer, Ian Cole, these guys are going to be walking. The money that will be available to re-sign Elias Lindholm will be there. However, an extension is not a part of the trade right now. So anything could still happen. If I'm Lindholm, I'm probably exploring free agency. But if he has a great time in Vancouver, they go out and win a Stanley Cup, that's definitely going to change things, right? Flames will pump Kuzmenko's stock and flip him next year, says Northie. I could see that, especially that Kuzmenko doesn't have a deal of his own right now. Kuzmenko 5.5 and well, I deal of his own. I mean, a long-term deal, 5.5 till the end of the year after. So if this is my lineup right now in Vancouver, of course, take out P.S. Suter. Let's think about this a little bit. If P.S. Suter comes out, let's say, I don't know, if I want Lindholm at center, I'm probably keeping Pettersson and moving JT to the wing. So I could see like Pettersson, Miller, Besser on line number 1, then Lindholm, Mikheyev, and Garland on line number 2 type of thing. So your top 6 goes from Suter, Miller, Besser, Mikheyev, Pettersson, Kuzmenko to Miller, Pettersson, Besser, Mikheyev, Lindholm, Garland. I could definitely, thank you, Joe. Don't forget to hit that like. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already for ongoing breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey. And of course, lots more to come as the trade deadline will be coming up. We have our NHL 24 franchise mode series. We have our series with the Vancouver Canucks, especially. So Elias Lindholm has been an interesting case here. Drafted 5th overall by the Hurricanes back in 2013. He was in the huge blockbuster that saw both he and Hanifin go to the Flames for Ferland, Hamilton, and of course Adam Fox. Now, years later, 5.5 years later, is that what it is? Yeah, like 5.5 years later, he's in a blockbuster going back the other way, as he has been good in Calgary. He's been a 40-goal scorer. He's been a point-per-game guy. Last season, 64 points. This year on pace for what? Let's break out the calculator. This year on pace for, let's see, 82 divided by 49 times 32, on pace for 54 points this year. So a down year again. So 82, 64, 54. So it hasn't been a great time for Elias Lindholm, but you look at the talent that he has around him. Jonathan Huberdeau hasn't been the guy that we were hoping that he would be to get him back to 40 goals. And yeah, P.S. Suter has been great. I'm just saying he probably doesn't stick on the first line with Lindholm coming in. So if I look at, oh my goodness, the amounts of advertisements, I'm sorry about this. If we look at Elias Lindholm, he's been a Selke candidate as well. He has more value than just his scoring. He was first runner-up for the Selke in that year where he scored point per game, 42 goals. Rock and Pop saying this trade or both of a separate deal would be could be falling dominoes. I could open the market and each team to upgrade now before the deadline happens. Definitely, this could be a big domino moment. So if I look at Elias Lindholm, he has a ton of value, not just when it comes to his potential scoring, if you put him in the right team, but his defensive ability. If we go and look at the Jay Fresh card now with that in mind, a former runner-up of a Selke trophy. If we go ahead, Lindholm could also play wing. We're looking at his face-off numbers in a moment. If we look at what he's done defensively, let's scroll down to Elias Lindholm. We see that it has definitely dropped off. 100% it's dropped off. But taking context into account and looking at the numbers when it was up here, that's a very different frame of mind. Lindholm, he is a two-way scoring center, off-the-puck player, specializing in getting open for high-danger looks rather than spending a lot of times with possession himself. He needs to play with strong passers and puck movers to excel. Yeah, I see that, absolutely. So his even strength offense and defense the last couple of years have not been too impressive, but I would say if you want to see Lindholm at his best, you go back a couple of years right here. If you see Lindholm was in that somewhere in the 90th percentile of wins above replacement, his even strength offense was well above average in something around 70th percentile. The defense, I will say, it wasn't as high as I thought it might be. Of course, the player cards are not the be-all, end-all of analytics, but they weren't as high as I thought they would be. I think it's because of what he does away from the puck. But we see that his defense, surprisingly, has gotten better in such a down year. His finishing, though, has taken a steep drop. So he plays against high levels of competition, and even on a bad team with all of this taken into account, he's still an above average player. Now, let's go and look at just this season now. Could be, it sounds like a winger, says Landon. I could see that. So if we look at just the 2023-24 season, we see the biggest difference from his recent track record is fewer scoring chances, of course, and a lot fewer goals. His finishing this season has been very poor, but he's shown a great finishing touch in the not so distant past. So this season, he still has great high percentiles in shots off high danger passes, in zone shots. His shots are still there, in zone offense, but his goals, his chances, his zone entries, even chance contributions, big drop-offs. Finishing WAR is one of the lowest in the league. He is still very much up there in an even strength defense wins above replacement, though. So he is still contributing defensively on a struggling 500 squad. So give me even strength defense, show me some power play flashes of something, show me the ability in the past on top of what you're doing right now. I think that gives the Canucks a very desirable player. So if I just jump back here to look at the comments that people have been throwing in here, let's hear from you now. What do we think about this deal so far? Still a lot to figure out, but what do we think so far? What do you need to see from either side to make it more of a win for either side? Rock and pop at the same time. Of course, it's hard to finish when the team is not playing well or his line mates. Absolutely. Kronos, welcome to the stream, my friend. Thank you for joining us. Leafs fan, Canucks are going all in. They most certainly are. No, the trade will go through. Kuzmenko waived his no trade clause. So the trade is absolutely happening. Lindholm for Kuzmenko. The question is now, what else are the Flames getting from the Canucks? That's what we're waiting to see right now. What's the return? All we know so far is that it's Kuzmenko for Lindholm. And there's going to be, I would think, prospects and picks involved, but I wouldn't say as much were Kuzmenko not to be involved. Because if Kuzmenko did not waive the no trade clause, the trade was still going to happen, but picks and prospects instead. Nathan says, better not be the Canucks giving up a first round pick. I don't think they would in this deal. Anything's possible. Vancouver Cup run, let's go, baby. I'm on board. I think the Canucks can do it. Brustevich, a part of it via Darren Dreger. Okay, so Hunter Brustevich is a part of this deal, according to Darren Dreger. Let's jump over to Twitter and see, or X, whatever you want to call it, and see what Darren has to say here. Hunter Brustevich, a part of the deal, an incredible defenseman in the juniors this year. He's been doing it. We're going to pull up his numbers in a moment to find out a bit more of the package. This could be a bit of a marathon. Like the Timo Meier live stream was over 2 hours. Subscribe if you haven't already for breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey, as well as our ongoing franchise mode series on NHL 24, MLB The Show 23, soon to be 24, and much, much more career simulations. We'd love to have you join the team and the Discord server as well, where we're always talking hockey and sports. So Brustevich would be a part of the deal going back to the Flames. I think that's a very good, solid prospect. I don't think Lekharimaki was realistic. I don't think Willander was realistic, but I think Hunter Brustevich is a very good prospect to be getting. So let me just pull up his numbers here while we talk a bit more about him, and we'll see what else the package would involve. So Andrei Kuzmenko and Hunter Brustevich going to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Elias Lindholm at the moment. We'll see what else this trade brings. I don't think it'll be much, much more. There's your roster player. There's your prospect. We'll see what else comes. Right shot defenseman, former third-round pick. Yeah, let's go ahead and pull it up here. Perfect. All right, so Hunter Brustevich, 19 years of age. He is a right-hand defenseman who was drafted in the third round of the most recent 2023 draft. He had 57 points in 68 games. Got drafted, and my goodness, have I been like, I knew he was doing well, but whoa, 69 points in 47 games in the OHL. So if he plays 68 games at this pace, in 68 games, he would score 100 points, exactly 99.8. 100 points for Brustevich. That is the pace he's on in the OHL. I don't know what the OHL records are for a defenseman, but that is something. That is something. So Hunter Brustevich, that is a big pickup. The Flames lost Adam Fox way back when, and he was a part of the Elias Lindholm deal. Now, years later, they trade Lindholm after the Fox deal, that they got him in the Fox deal, and they bring back Hunter Brustevich. So going full circle here. If we go, we refresh Twitter here. Live at 30,000 feet. Kevin, let's go. What a monster. I just Hunter Brustevich, leading scoring D-man as part of the package. So that's a big get. That is a big get. Yeah, Brustevich, that's confirmed. So that is a big get for the Vancouver Canucks. For the Calgary Flames. And that is I don't know, do I dare say a blue chip prospect from the Canucks? A very good prospect, definitely one of their best. So if we look at the Canucks here, let's go back to the Canucks and just look at them as a whole here. The trade so far, it's still developing, but the trade so far, guaranteed, it is Hunter Brustevich and Andrei Kuzmenko going to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Elias Lindholm. The rest of the package is still yet to be discovered, or to be published, I should say. So the Calgary Flames, excuse me, the Vancouver Canucks, if I look in their system right here, of course, we saw the big names, Lekaramaki, Ratu, even, I would say, Tom Willander. I think those are the guys that they wanted to avoid moving. Ratu would be fringe, but they definitely want to avoid moving those top guys. So guys who would be, I suppose, dispensable. You see Podkolzin, you see Brustevich. You'd like the defense in Vancouver. You say, I'm moving all in on Hughes. I'm all in on Hronik. There's not as much room for a right shot offensive defenseman. Not a bad move to make. Not said he wouldn't be valuable in Vancouver, but just to say that if they can capitalize on that value now and try to convince Lindholm to stay long term, that's a huge get for them. Let's see. Seung-Hyun Kim asking, is Kuzmenko good? He was incredible last season. He had a historic shooting percentage of 27.3%. This year, he's definitely having a down year, on pace for 40-some points, not looking as hot as he was. He's been a healthy scratch at times. He's been struggling with Vancouver. But if you're struggling on the best team in the league and you move out a struggling player and bring in someone who could be a top 6 guy, that is really big. Hunter Shinkruk to Calgary. That's funny, from X-Tech. That's really funny. So yeah, he has been incredible, and he's not signed to an ELC right now. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Cap Friendly. So that's what we know so far. Just don't expect him to back check. That'll come. That'll come with time, I'm sure. Canucks need to re-sign Lindholm. Rentals don't work. Look at Leafs and Rangers. I see what you're saying. No word on Sean Monahan just yet, and we're still waiting. But this would definitely pump up the value. If Elias Lindholm, of course, Lindholm's in a different class, I think, than Monahan, but points-wise, not that much. So if Lindholm fetches a top 6, middle 6 forward and a top prospect plus more, then you would think Sean Monahan would fetch at the very least a first-round pick. I think that's a given. So it is official. It's just, what is the full deal, right? What is the full deal? Nucks Nation. Let's go, baby. Good day to be a Canucks fan. Do I think Hanifin is out soon? I think this puts the Flames kind of in seller mode. But at the same time, I don't know. Are they still trying to make it? If they sell Zadorov, they sell Lindholm, are they selling everything? To take back Kuzmenko tells me that we're not going through a full rebuild. We're going through a type of retool or something, unless they're going to be flipping him in the near future. Because again, if I go ahead and look at the Calgary Flames as a team, I still see very good things in Calgary. Even though things have been going well, they're a 500 squad. Huberdeau's signed on. If whatever, bad contract, you can't do anything about it. You got to live with it. Nazem Kadri signed on for just as long, pretty much. You got to live with it. You got one more year after this one of Mangiapane. You got two more years of your captain. You got 3 more years of Blake Coleman. Do you just want to ride out those years and let those contracts end and then say, now we're resetting? Or do you want to try and squeeze something out of those players while you can? Right? So if that's the core, and then you throw in Sharon Govich, Connor Zary, you have good players in there. Page unresponsive. The Wi-Fi is really struggling here. You have Mackenzie Weegar signed on long-term. Hanifin expiring. He likely moves out, but Rasmus Anderson's still in there. You're likely seeing a very different Flame squad next season, because when I look at players who are only signed on for next year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's your top 6 with Sharon Govich. You got maybe Zary in your top 9. You got only 2 defensemen out of your starting 6, and Markstrom, also a guy who's been rumored around there as well, right? So the Flames, I still see the pieces to say they want to do something, they want to put it together, but at the same time, with so many UFAs involved, I gotta say, if I'm Calgary, I'm trying to flip Kuzmenko, and I want guys like Connor Zary and maybe the younger guys like Mackenzie Weegar is not going to be 37 by the time the Flames are competitive again. He's still in his late 20s. He could still be a piece. So, here it is. The trade's official. Okay, from the Calgary Flames. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The Flames have acquired Kuzmenko, a first-round pick, Hunter Brustevich, and Yoni Yermo, as well as a conditional 4th in exchange for Elias Lindholm. Here's the trade, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. So Kuzmenko, Brustevich, Yermo, a 2024 first-round pick, and a conditional 2024 4th in exchange for Elias Lindholm. As a rental, that is a very, very good return for the Flames. Now the question is, what will they do with it? So now if I look at the Vancouver Canucks and their draft pick situation, there's a first in 2024. I don't think they had their second, correct? So yeah, now they have no first, no second in the first 2 rounds of 2024. No first, no second for the Canucks. But in an all-in season, those are the types of trades that you have to make. Hunter Brustavich, we already looked at him. Big name prospect, a guy who's on a 100-point pace in the OHL. Now, what else can we look at? Let me pull up the pages on Yermo. Give me a quick moment, please. I want to make sure that I have everything here for you. Nothing going back, no money, no contracts, nothing going back to the Canucks. Just straight up right here. Monahan, first prospect and a second. I would hope so, right? So Yermo. Okay, Yermo not too shabby here. So if you pull up the numbers on Yoni Yermo also a 3rd-round pick, but in the 2020 draft, he is a 21-year-old left-handed defenseman. So the Flames got a couple of defense prospects. Very good for that. Tanev not involved in this trade here. He has been, it looks like he's, I'm really just speaking out of what I see from the numbers here. It seems as though he's a solid enough two-way D in the SHL, in Liga, playing with a few different teams, currently with Kuko Kuvola, I'm not sure who he's with right now, but he was a part of some sort of deal, I guess. He played the World Juniors in 2022, 1 assist in 7 games, not a point kind of guy. I wish I could tell you more about Yermo. I won't pretend that I'm an expert on him. Jay Bond doesn't like him too much. He says that he's not too good. But regardless, I wouldn't look at Yoni Yermo as the big piece here. Hunter Brustavich, a 1st-round pick, and Kuzmenko, who you can get value out of in terms of his play or flipping him in the future. I think that, forget Yermo, forget the conditional 4th, just getting a 1st-round pick, a top prospect, and a good middle 6, possibly top 6 if you can squeeze it out of him forward, in exchange for someone who's very good but has been on not doing as well as his teammates' quality have gone down, and on expiring contract, likely not coming back. If I'm Calgary and I know that Elias Lindholm is not coming back, then I just got a fantastic package, a lovely, fantastic, wonderful package. Now, the question will be, as I've been saying, what do the Flames do with this package? Yermo Brustavich, the 1st-round pick, amazing. But do they add Kuzmenko to this cast of characters? Do they add Kuzmenko to, actually, Uyghur's 30, not 29. Do they add Kuzmenko to Uyghur, to Anderson, to Huberdeau, to Kadri, to Mangiapane, to Backlund, to Coleman, to Sharangovich, to Zary? Or do they say, let's try and move away from Mangiapane. Let's try and find a way to dump Blake Coleman while his value is the highest it's been. Of course, I'm just speculating right now. Let's trade all these UFA defensemen. What's the plan? There's a couple ways that they can go, and I really want to know what is the plan in Calgary. So there's the trade at the moment right now. Let's go back to it. Let me just pull it up for you once again, as we are quite a few in the chat here, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe for breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey, as well as our franchise mode series on NHL 24, MLB The Show 23. If you're a Canucks fan, we're currently doing a Canucks series on NHL 24, so it's a perfect time for you to join in. I don't want to open a new tab here. Let me just look at it from the Flames official. There it is. So Andrei Kuzmenko, who is a solid middle 6 forward, who's having a very down year. Hunter Brustavich, who is an OHL defenseman, right-handed puck-moving defenseman, on pace for 100 points in the OHL, a 2024 unconditional 1st-round pick, as well as a conditional 2024 4th-round pick, going to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Elias Lindholm. Now, if that, I don't know what the conditional 4th or the conditional on that 4th is, but if that condition is met, I'm assuming it would be if Lindholm plays a certain percentage of games and the Canucks go on a far postseason run. If those conditions are met, the Canucks would have only a 3rd-round pick in the first 4 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. They'd have no first. They already have no first, no second, but it would be no 4th as well. That would probably be their only 3rd. So signing Lindholm would have a lot of value for Vancouver because they just gave up a big package. The jury is going to be out on who won this deal until we see whether or not there is a re-signing. If I look at Vancouver here, he's actually leading the OHL in scoring as well. The 1st-round pick is the overpay, says Jay Bond. Okay, yeah, that's it. So they have 2/4. So I'm assuming it's Vancouver's fourth. If the condition is met, that would leave them with just a third, New Jersey's fourth, and then even no fifth. So in the first 5 rounds, they would have 2 picks, their own third, and either their own fourth or New Jersey's fourth. No first, no second, no fourth if the condition is met of their own or New Jersey, and no fifth. But guaranteed no first, no second, no fifth right there. But the Canucks are an all-in team, so it makes sense to be seeing this from them. It's an all-in kind of thing. Let me go back and see what you have to say about this, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of you have been saying in here, a lot of different things in here. Cousin Vinny says, who cares? We got what we need, Lindholm. And I think that's the type of mentality you got to have when you're the #1 team in the NHL. Calgary's MVP line from 2022 is all gone now. Gaudreau, Tkachuk, Lindholm. That's crazy. It's not a very long time since then, and they're all gone. Wow, 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 wow. Let me see here. Well, Kuzi wasn't going to resign. It wasn't going to sign in Vancouver either. So rental for rental, but why a first and a blue chip prospect? But here's the thing. Kuzmenko does have 1 more year signed on. So it's not a pure rental. He could, in theory, have 1 more season in Calgary. It could be rental for rental, but still yet to be seen. The first and the blue chip prospect, I think part of that is you're trading with a division rival. You're also the best team in the NHL, and you're also trying to, make this season worth it when you have a lot of things moving in Vancouver next year. You have an RFA contract in Pettersson. You have an RFA contract in Hronek. I think it's not just an all-in year. It's like this year has to be the year type of thing. Flames won that deal. Canucks got robbed. I think if the Canucks are to lose early in the postseason and Lindholm doesn't re-sign, then absolutely. A first, a blue chip prospect, a middle six forward who's coming off of a great season but having a down year, absolutely. But if the Canucks have a deep run, even a Stanley Cup, but a deep run, and Lindholm resigns, that's very different. And I'd say the flip side would be winning the cup and Lindholm doesn't resign. Flags fly forever. So if the Canucks win the Stanley Cup, this entire thing is, this conversation's for nothing. It's worth it no matter what. If you get a cup out of it, I don't think you really care what prospect you're moving. At the same time, there's also value in the re-sign. So the Canucks could have a good postseason run and re-sign Lindholm and still come out looking good in this trade. At the same time, you're always giving up a lot of value when you're trading with a division rival. That's pretty much what you're saying here. Of course, if we learned anything from our current Vancouver Canucks franchise mode, it's that Ratu is the only blue chip in here. Hunter is a steal. Yeah, I see that. Ratu would have been a better deal. I think the Flames really wanted that puck-moving defenseman back there. You got Uyghur, you got Anderson, throw in Brucevic in a couple of years, and everyone else is a UFA pretty much. I don't know, who else does Calgary have right now? Who comes to mind right now? Poirier, is that his name? Is it Émile Poirier? What's his name? There's a puck-moving defenseman in Calgary. Doesn't mean that they're full-on rebuilding. I don't know. That's the thing. Calgary, what are you doing? Are you rebuilding? Are you retooling? What's it? No, not Jérémy Poirier. What's the other guy's name? It's not Jérémy Poirier. I know Jérémy Poirier is one of them, but there's another one whose name starts with an E, I think. I have him in my Dynasty League. That's why I'm thinking about him. But there's someone else in Calgary. So I have Jérémy Poirier. Who else is the guy? Hold on, I'm blanking on him now. Morin, thank you. Émile Morin, I think that's his name, right? So you got Morin, you have Poirier, you have Brucevic, you have, hopefully still in the future, Rasmus Anderson, Mackenzie Weegar. The defense should be solid enough in Calgary. Now the question, what is going to happen with the forwards? Is Kuzmenko joining Huberdeau and Kadri and Mangiapane and Backlund and Coleman and Sharangovich and Zary to make a solid top 9 for next year and add in whoever else with all the money they'll have to spend? Or are they flipping Kuzmenko and selling everyone that they can and essentially saying we're going to ride out the Huberdeau and the Kadri contracts and the Weegar contracts and try to build some teams around it until we're good to go in 3, 4, 5 years? I don't think that's what Calgary wants to do. They now have 2 first-round picks, a second, a third, potentially 2 fourths. They got to get more picks in here. They got to get more. They got to sell Hanifin. They got to sell Tanev. They need to get some more picks in here. If they want to have an accelerated rebuild and deal from a position of power, they need to get on this ASAP. And this is the first, the first domino to fall, not just in the trade market itself, but especially for Kuzmenko, for the Calgary Flames and what they're going to be doing in the near future. So let me go back to what all of you have to say. I'm seeing a lot of comments in here. Let's see. Lindholm's gonna be at the All-Star game. We'll see what team he's playing for, I guess. Well, of course he's gonna be with what's his name with the Canucks, but now they're gonna have another representative. They already had a ton of representatives. Let's see. Hope the Canucks win the cup this year. Essentially a second round pick. Kuzmenko was a scratch most nights. Hunter, undersized D, no need for him in Vancouver. Well, I don't know if I'd say no need, but I definitely see where you're coming from, especially when you say Quinn Hughes is already that puck moving guy who's going to be quarterbacking the power play and all that, and Hronek's your secondary guy. I don't think being undersized is a huge deal in today's NHL as a defenseman who's able to put up the points. Of course, you got to be able to strengthen the defensive game. Of course, there's still a long way to go for him, but a lot of it comes down to the way they position themselves. So I wouldn't say only look at the undersized, but I'd say it is a factor when it came to Vancouver saying, are we okay with moving him? Kuzmenko, yes, he's been a scratch most nights, but at the same time, he has shown the ability last season to be an incredible force. So yeah, they're gonna have another player at the All-Star game now. Will the Canucks also get Tanev? That's another thing. They tried to involve him in this deal, and they didn't want to make it happen. So, sorry, by the way, my microphone was really low. Sorry if I'm speaking really. Let me know if the volume is okay here. My apologies. I didn't even look at my microphone volume here. Let's go rock and pop. Flames get first round pick, top 6 NHL ready forward, a top 4 prospect, another prospect, and a 4th round pick. I would say first round pick, middle 6 forward, top 4 deep prospect, and another fringe prospect plus a conditional 4th. Yeah, but you're on the right track. Brucevic probably the centerpiece of this package. I think Kuzmenko is more of a let's see what happens with him type of thing. He waived his no trade clause to go to Calgary. I'm supposing I would very much assume that he's not content with being scratched on most nights after the season that he had last year. Flames best center now is Nazem Kadri. You still have Pettersson. It's true as defenseman. You have the other Elias Pettersson. You have Tom Willander for your deep prospects. You have Hughes. You have Hronek. You have Jet Wu. There's still some players in there, right? And the question, good point from KCC. The question right now is, does moving out Kuzmenko and bringing in Lindholm make the Canucks better? Absolutely. And that goes a long way. I think Tanev would likely be involved. I could see the Canucks making a separate deal. Yeah. I see a good deal for both teams, but definitely the jury's going to be out on the long-term victories, right? Because like I said before, if the Canucks can have a deep postseason run and re-sign Pettersson and re-sign Lindholm, then that's a ton of value. Or if they can win the Stanley Cup and even let him walk to free agency, it was also worth it for that. But you gotta have one or the other. It cannot be an early postseason exit that Vancouver has shown themselves to be very capable of doing. Yes, the Canucks gave up. Let me give you the whole thing here. Nucks for life. You're in the right spot. Let me give you the entire package right here. In this trade, the Vancouver Canucks are giving up Andrei Kuzmenko, Hunter Brucevic, and a blue chip defensive prospect who's on pace to score 100 points in the OHL this season, leading the OHL in points as a defenseman. Yoni Yermo, former 3rd round pick, a 21 or 23-year-old defenseman playing in Liga. How old is he again? Let me just check. Because he's 21 or 23? He's 21. Thank you. He's 21. My apologies. As well as a 1st round pick in 2024 and a conditional 4th round pick. That is what the Canucks gave up. And we'll see long term. Of course, I think Brucevic's going to be a good player. I think Kuzmenko is going to be able to turn it around. What does that 1st round pick become? Who knows? But it's going to come down to whether or not the Canucks can re-sign Lindholm. Now, I want to look a bit more at the money situation here. Kuzmenko, we've been working with the Canucks and the Flames since Sunday. Kuzmenko spoke with both the GM and the head coach prior to agreeing to the trade. He is looking forward to joining the Flames. He is extremely appreciative for the support received from the team and fans over the last 1.5 years. Thank you for giving him the opportunity to play in the NHL and call Vancouver home. Wow. There you go. So now if I look at the Vancouver Canucks, let me just play a little bit of GM mode here. Let me break out the calculator. Let me play a little bit of GM mode. The conditions, no, we haven't heard the conditions yet. We'll wait to hear on the conditions. Sorry, what happened here? Well, I wouldn't say that. I don't think you can call anyone who's still in the juniors a defensive liability just yet. I think you have to see how his game develops. If you said that about Cale Makar and Adam Fox when they were playing in college, maybe you would have been right. But now even Quinn Hughes, now we see that they are defensive forces, especially Adam Fox. So is he a defensive liability in the OHL? Sure. But I got to see a lot more from Vucevic in his NHL development before I'm going to say that he's a cone, that he's a pylon, that he's just... Oh, Kuzmenko, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I misread then. Kuzmenko, yeah. Okay, defensive life. Okay, I see you there. Okay, so let me play a little bit of GM mode here quickly. If we have the Vancouver Canucks, let me refresh here and see if it updates. I think it should update now. The Canucks salary cap situation right now. Okay, so cap space is at 0 because they're using LTIR. Gotcha. So next season, you're going to have a lot of RFAs and UFAs. So if I'm going to have, let's say the salary cap is going to be, their cap hit is currently 86.264922. Okay. Next season, I'm going to have Pettersson out, 7.35, just for out of a contract. 4.85 for Lindholm, 1.9 for Bluger, 1.15 for Lafferty, 0.825 for Dakota Johnson. That leaves me with 70 million now. If I go down on defense, 6 million from Tyler Myers, 4.4 on Hronik, 3.75 on Zadorov, 3 on Ian Cole, 775 on Friedman, 1.8 on DeSmith. I'm down to 50 million now. If the salary cap is going to be, let's say 87 million or so, I have about 37 million to do a lot of damage here in Vancouver. If I'm Vancouver, I'm signing Pettersson. Let's just throw some numbers out there for the sake of argument. Let's say 11.5 on Pettersson. Let's say Lindholm wants, let's say he wants 9. Let's just go crazy. He wants 9 million. Teddy Bluger or an equivalent, let's say 1.5. Sam Lafferty or an equivalent, 1.2. A minimum guy at 0.9. There you go. Now, if I go down on defense, Myers is gone. Hronik, let's say he wants, let's go crazy again. Let's say 7.5 million. He wants 7.5. Zadorov wants, or an equivalent, wants 4 million. Ian Cole, Friedman, let's say that's another 1 million there. And let's say another backup goalie, add a little 900K. That gets me to 87.96 million. So with me even going over a lot of what these players will likely get, that gives me a salary cap for the Canucks of 87.96 million next year, something in that range, if they're re-signing Lindholm for 9 million. So can it happen? Absolutely, it can happen. I think the Canucks are in a good spot with all those expiring contracts. It's really too bad that they're spending so much money. I need to, keep that in mind. 87 million. I forgot about the 2.3 million to Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I'll keep that in mind as well. They have to think about that moving forward. But just to say, I think the Canucks could figure this out to keep Elias Lindholm. If he can come down a little bit, I think they can definitely figure it out. So a draft plus one OHL defenseman, if you adjust league scoring to an average of 3.5 goals per game, here are the leaders and how Vucevic compares. So that's very interesting. If you look at this adjustment right here, the data set with the goals, the average goals, and the adjusted league scoring, Vucevic will be at 1.38, while John Carlson, Ryan Ellis, Dougie Hamilton, guys like that are down there. So I think Vucevic definitely has an NHL career in front of him. I definitely think that he's going to be a top 4 defenseman as well. The question is, will he be able to be in the same conversation as those players, right? So I wouldn't be too scared about the first round pick. I'm going to go back to the comments here. I see a lot of people saying a few things about the first here, giving away a first and Vucevic. So Tony, I wouldn't be too scared about the first round pick. The first is going to be a very late first, you would think. And I wouldn't say it's the greatest year for the draft either. Blake thinking a Flames fleece right here. I think in terms of value today, of course, it's Lindholm, right? But in long-term value, especially if Lindholm doesn't resign, what that pick will become, what that prospect will become, what Kuzmenko might become on the Flames or in a deal where he's flipped, I think the Flames get a lot of good value here today, but we don't know how much value it'll be until we're still waiting for that to come as the years go by. The draft is deep. Let me rephrase here. It's not, I wouldn't say that it's as much high-end value in this draft. Like, for example, I'm saying a guy who went 25th last year would probably go 15th this year type of thing. So I think this is a deep draft, but not as much top-end talent throughout the first round. Yeah, exactly. Not top-heavy. Thank you, Gunn. Not top-heavy. Thank you. So, yeah, it's still a good draft. I didn't mean to say that it wasn't. I just don't think that it's I wouldn't say it's the same as last year's draft class here. And then there you go. Like there you go, Jack. Dealing from a position of power. You know you're going to be a top team. Move your late first. You know you have Willander, Hronik, Hughes. Move out Brustovic. Keep Ratu. Keep Lekaramaki. Keep I don't know Klimovic. All these guys. Keep them. Yes. What's my opinion on Monahan's value? It's definitely going to be a first plus a little bit. I would think at this point. I would think. Yeah. Flames are retooling. That's the question. They're retooling, but the question, I keep saying this a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it again. The question is, what are they doing? Are they going for a retool with Huberdeau and Kadri and Uyghur as their base? Or are they saying, let's just wipe it clean, leave those bad contracts, and build around them with Sharon Govich and Zary and Poirier and Morin, etc.? So it's going to be a very interesting situation in Calgary when they've moved out their 3 all-stars of Lindholm, Gaudreau, and Tkachuk. It's a very different team years later, not long later, just a couple years later, right? I know the Canucks are not done yet. The Canucks are not done yet. Ladies and gentlemen, while we're in here, I'll go back to Twitter. Leave a like if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe for breaking news and analysis. I always go live as soon as the breaking news hits here for NHL content. Of course, as the trade deadline gets closer. Check out the rest of the channel. We do our franchise mode series. We do our NHL 24 career simulations, MLB The Show franchise mode. If you enjoy this content, there's a lot more where it came from, and it'll be that much better with you as a part of the team. Discord server link in the description where we're always talking hockey and much, much more. Eric Engels says, Elias Lindholm is a really good player. I think he's way better than his stats suggest, but he has 9 goals and 35 points in 49 games, and people are still trying to tell me I'm crazy for saying Sean Monahan, who has 45 points with lesser line mates, won't fetch a first. So there you go. 45 points for Sean Monahan. Is he a guy that you sign long-term and keep in your plans? No. But in terms of rental value, Sean Monahan should absolutely get a first plus. In this market, a first, and his cap hit, don't forget his cap hit, a first plus. Yes, the Flames have 2 first-round picks now. So if we look again at the situation for these 2 teams, Vancouver now has no first, no second, right here, no first, no second, and no conditional 4th. Did we get the conditions on that 4th yet? If it was their 4th. If we scroll down to it, let's see if we get the condition. I would assume that it's something to do with Lindholm being a part of a deep run. Ooh, sorry, I went too far. Oh, no, it's a 4A, so it's going to be super far then. Can I just see trades? I have to scroll. Round 3, round 4. Okay, hold on. Round 5. Apologies. I'm trying to look for that condition. Round 4. Okay, here it is. And conditional. We don't know anything about it. Great. Okay, thank you. So, like we said, no first, no second, no 4th. They have New Jersey's 4th and their own 3rd. There we go. But in the first 5 rounds, they are missing 4 of their own 5 first picks. Now, they still have a lot of value to deal. They have, I wouldn't say we're moving into the blue chip prospects, but I still think that they can get value out of their first and their second in 2025 and 2026. This is not just an let's go on a Stanley Cup run type of season. This is definitely an all-in year for the Canucks. Yes, like I said, you can re-sign a lot of these guys, but Pettersson needs big money. Hronik needs big money. Lindholm, it's not a guarantee that he stays. It's not a guarantee that Brock Besser is going to be on another like 45, 50 goal pace. These are not guarantees. When things are clicking, you got to capitalize on that value. And that's exactly what the Canucks are doing. So I say chapeau to them. It's a great decision that they're making right now. They gave up a lot. I'm not saying I like what they gave up. They gave up a lot, and it's unfortunate, but they're dealing from a position of power. They have depth at that position of prospect that they traded. They weren't using Kuzmenko very much. It's a late first-round pick. I see the rationale, absolutely. And if I can get Lindholm back to the pace that he was on, his Selke 40-goal, 80-point pace, then it's going to be a good time, especially if he's getting re-signed, right? It's still a lot to think about, though. Mila saying Calgary has been crazy bad with getting new forwards to keep up scoring. Maybe Kuzmenko and Huberdeau can help jumpstart each other, but I feel like there's a good chance Kuzi and Hubie stay off their game. I see it. Kuzmenko is prime. Dow, let me show you the numbers here. I 100% agree. Let's look a bit more on Kuzmenko. We spoke about this earlier. Let's go back to the numbers. I 100% agree that Kuzmenko last season was outstanding. He had a historic year when it came to his shooting percentage, and he was just bursting onto the scene, guns blazing. Now, a year later, it's as if he's a bit of a different player, and in terms of his playing style even, where he's now more of a playmaker, at least this season. If we look at his stats for this year, the micro stat card here, we see that when we look at his primary assists, his chance assists, his high danger passes, he's above league average in the percentiles. I don't think that these player cards are the be-all, end-all of a player, but I think there's a good stock to put in them. Meanwhile, his goals, his chances, his shots, his rush shots, way down there. So I think that Kuzmenko has shown, it's been Jekyll and Hyde. If Jekyll shows up, or if Dr. Jekyll. If Dr. Jekyll shows up, then we're okay. Right? Who's who in Jekyll and Hyde? What's wrong with me? If the doctor shows up and not the monster, then I think the Flames are in a great spot to either use him or flip him for good value. If he continues on the pace that he's been on, the kind of struggle he's been seeing, I don't mean to say something crazy, but I could see him going back to the KHL once his contract is up if he's going on such a downward pace. I do think he'll turn it around. I do think he's that good of a player. But just to say, couple notifications here. Who's messaging? And this is very rare for me on Twitter. Great info. Hey, thank you, Van City. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Hunter isn't playing versus men in the OHL. Give it 3 to 4 years. Yes, for sure. Lindholm good for now. Plus, if PD moves on, that's true as well. Pettersson staying is not a lock just yet. As an RFA, that's good. I think there's definitely a high chance. Right, of course, Jack. Kuzmenko's not a rental. He's signed on for 1 more year. So if Pettersson moves on, that's a great contingency plan as well. That's a good point. If Pettersson were to leave, which is, of course, huge speculation, we're not saying that yet, but if he were to, that's a good backup plan there. They can hopefully sign him as number 1C. Good GM move. Mr. Obvious says Stanley Cup is squarely as Vancouver's target for June of 2024. Van City, thank you for sharing. That is a great point. Glad that you've been enjoying live. Thank you for dropping those kind words. If we go back to the top of the Twitter feed now, come on, there we go. 4 new posts. Eat those up. Nothing there. Equalizer on Sportsnet. Okay, Glove Save Gaming's already got that up here. Kuzmenko's at an 83 in his rosters. Okay. Okay, let me get back to what all of you have been saying here in the chat. All 262 out here. Pyro saying, I'm very mad that Yermo is in it. Have you seen Yermo play a little bit? I can't lie and say I've been following Liga. Pettersson's not leaving, let's be real. I agree. I would be shocked if Pettersson leaves, but it is good to have that contingency plan in place. I would be shocked, not just surprised. I would be shocked. But as a general manager, it's good to have that in place. Huncho, Kuzmenko was struggling playing in Tocchet's system. Multiple times they mentioned his lack of forechecking and positioning issues. So I think given the chance, he can still do well in Calgary. I 100% agree. The chance for him to rebound and get a new change of scenery. It's not that far away, same division and everything, but different coach, different line mates, different teammates, different spot in the lineup. Absolutely. Brennan, is it possible that the Canucks know Pettersson won't sign and then they go out for Lindholm and then re-sign him? Sure, that's a chance. I would say if they were more confident in that, they probably would have tried to work out an extension before trading if they were more confident in that. But I would say I'd be very surprised, especially if he's an RFA. They'll be able to control his rights. I wouldn't say that's most likely. Does Montreal have Florida's first via Calgary, not Calgary's first? Yes, I believe that's the case. I believe that is the case. So is Kuzmenko a rental? Not necessarily. He signed on for 1 more year after this one till the end of 2025. So he'll have 1 more season potentially. The return for Hannafin would be quite large. Yes, absolutely. Jay Birdie, welcome to the stream, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Yeah, you got Goudreau, Kachuk, Lindholm. It's tough. It's tough. I know we're a great group in here, Dabrowskigo. We're a great group. We're talking hockey. Kuzmenko is what Besser is benefiting from. Pettersson and Miller to BH. They make anyone look good. So remove Kuzmenko from that lineup, from that line, put Besser there. Now we see Besser having a career year resurgence and Kuzmenko struggling. Who's Kuzmenko going to play with to try and recapture that brilliance? I don't know. Let's take a second to look at the lines in Calgary. I want to see that in a second here. I don't think the Canucks pay this much if they don't re-sign Lindholm. You would hope so, right? They had the Bo Horvat trade last year. That's true, right? You would think. This all-star draft's going to be crazy. Okay, let's go. I want to just quickly look at what we might think the Flames lines might be. I don't want to spend too much more time on this. I think we've broken it down pretty well. We're a great group in here. Thank you, everyone, for joining the live stream. It's been a great time. Subscribe if you haven't already to join us next time for more breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey. Let's go to the Calgary Flames now and refresh their page. Is Sharon Govich your first line center now? I don't know. I think Kadri has that spot. I would say Nazem Kadri is who they're going to roll with. What kind of lineup are they going to use? I think they're going to try some experimentation for sure. And this second half of the year is going to be big. Do the Flames stay at 500 or lower? Do they improve? Do they have a push for the postseason this year that gives hope for next year? There's a lot to think of. Kuzmenko could play with Huberdeau, Sharon Govich, Kadri, Zary, etc. Yes, playing on good talent, but I agree, lacking shooters if Kuzmenko's not going to be that shooter there. So if my first line is Huberdeau, Kadri, and Zary, I think that works okay. My second line would be Sharon Govich. He can go to center. And potential, I don't know, Pops, I don't want to create line combos necessarily, but just to say, according to my depth, Blake Coleman's been incredible. So really, my top six best forwards, I have Huberdeau, Kadri, Sharon Govich, Coleman, Kuzmenko, probably Backlund in there as well. I would say Zary, Mangiapane, Pospisil, probably some sort of mix on the third line type of thing. But of course, line combos are different. Just because Coleman's on the third line, he scored like 40 points this year, right? Yeah, exactly. 40. I'm a wizard. 40 points. So just because you're on the third line doesn't mean you're a third liner. Just to say that my top six forwards are likely those six that I just named. Oh, my apologies here. Let me just go back to what we're saying over here. What side is Kuzmenko? He's a left winger. Kuzmenko is a left winger. Kadri, Huberdeau, Kuzmenko could be dangerous if they're all on top of their game. That's the thing. Always the big if, but the potential is there. And that's what Calgary's kind of betting on. Are they betting on that for a long-term future? Or are they saying, let's try and flip him sooner rather than later? Giuliano, welcome to the stream, Bello. Huge trade, hopefully not a rental for the Canucks. I would think, well, the money is there. I would think that the Flames push, the Canucks push hard to make this not a rental. Because if I have Miller and Lindholm and Pettersson, three guys who can play center in my top six, that's very valuable. Center, wing for those three guys. Who else is in my top six? Besser, Garland, mix people around. The Canucks are going to be not just a scary team this year, but it adds to their ability to transfer this to next season and not just be a one-hit wonder squad. That's the last thing they want to be. They've been through so much. They have been through so much. If we go and look at the history, if I go to Hockey Ref here, just to quickly highlight, Giuliano, this trade is huge for the Habs as well. Makes Monahan seem more valuable. Yes, well said. That will give more value to Sean Monahan, who scored 45 points on the season. And when Bedard comes home, there you go. When Bedard goes to Vancouver, that'll be something, eh? If we go over to Vancouver, it's going to take a few seconds to load here. Apologies. And we look at their history. The last time the Canucks were this good, they got swept out of round number one, right? So it's a long history of a lot of broken hearts and broken promises. So they've heard this song and dance before, right? Last time they finished first, they lost. They got swept in round number one. The year before they finished first, they lost in 7 in round number one. The year before they finished first, they lost in the Stanley Cup final. So Stanley Cup final loss with the first place finish. First round, game 7 loss with a first place finish. 4-game sweep loss in round number 1 with a first place finish. Blah, blah, blah. Years of pain and suffering. Here we are again, looking for once more a first place finish. Can they finally get out of the curse that they've been suffering and actually go on a run here? I think that this made them a lot stronger today. Today's value is Kuzmenko out, Lindholm in. That's a huge win. Long term, you got to make it worth your while. If he's able to pick up that pace again with a change of scenery, the Flames will have a valuable trade asset at next year's trade deadline. Well said. Making $5.5 million. $5.5 million on Kuzmenko, which would be $2.75 million at 50% retained. At next year's trade deadline, the Flames would be in a very powerful position. Flames have set the market value. They still have Tanev to move. They still have Hanifin to move. They'll have Kuzmenko to move. If they want to go that rebuild route, they can do it. But with Huberdeau and Kadri and Uyghur signed on so long-term to so much money, I don't think that you can afford to say we're going into a full rebuild. I think you need to get as much value as you can now and you got to be competitive again in 2 or 3 years. You got to be competitive again, like pushing in 2 or 3 years. Huberdeau is 30. Kadri's 33. Uyghur's 30. They're not dinosaurs just yet, but add 2-3 years. Kadri will be 35. Huberdeau's going to be 32 in 2 years. You got to think that the Flames have to make things happen. Now we know if we trade Kuzmenko to the Flames in our Vancouver series. Yes, of course. What happens with the Flames pick that the Habs currently have? Let's look at that value quickly as we're getting close to wrapping things up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go back to the Flames here. The Flames first round pick that they traded to the Canadians. Let's go back here. Let's see. So the first round pick, which they currently yeah, that's true. But 2025, their first is also conditional right now, right? Because it depends. Was that in the same deal? Yeah, it's the same deal. So it'll depend on whether it's 2024 or 2025. Because if we look at those conditions again, remind me of them. So if Calgary's 2024 first round is between 20 and 32, Montreal can take that pick. Okay, so here's the thing. If the Flames first round pick is between 20 and 32 this year, the Canadians can choose to take this year's first or next year's first. So if I'm Montreal, I'm saying forget the 2024 first. I want the 2025 first when I think that you're hopefully going to be even worse. But the thing is, it could be that, depends how bad they are this year, but they can only choose if it's between 20 and 32. In the event Calgary receives Florida's 2025 first, Montreal receives, there's so many, I don't know if I want to read through this. Sub-scenarios and sub-scenarios. Oh my goodness. Let me try to read this. So it could be Florida's first. Essentially, the Canadians are getting Calgary's 24, 25, or Florida's 25 first, right? Montreal also receives a fourth. No, I'm not going to try to break my head on this. There's so many different ways it could go. I can't even pretend to tell you the answer because the Flames have Florida's 25 pick there. Gotcha. Okay, so there's a lot of ways that things can go, but the Flames, if they're getting, that's good news for the Canadians, actually. Ooh, that's good news for the Canadians. Yeah, multi-page PDF. I'm not going to be able to get that out. So that's good news for the Canadians, because if the Flames are getting worse, going through a little bit of a rebuild here, I wouldn't mind a first-round pick from Calgary. So that's good to see. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that just about wraps it up. Hunter Brucevich. Let me just show you one last time if you're just joining in late. One last time. Let's wrap it all up and call it a night. This was a long one. It was a big blockbuster here in the NHL. The Vancouver Canucks receive Elias Lindholm on an expiring deal, potentially as a rental, in exchange for Andrei Kuzmenko, signed on for one more year after this one. Hunter Brucevich, a defenseman who's leading OHL scoring, 100-point pace right now. Yoni Yermo, a 21-year-old defenseman, former third-round pick playing in Liga, a 2024 first-round pick, and a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick, which we have not heard the conditions of yet after all this time. I would assume it's just if the Canucks go on a deep run and Lindholm plays like 50% or more of the games, right? That's all I'm going to probably say that it is right there. Trevor thinks that they got fleeced. The Canucks got fleeced right here. Gave up too much for a player not signed past this year. Only way it makes sense if they have a contract worked out. It's not worked out yet, but I would say that the Canucks have the money and they will definitely want to push hard to get him re-signed. If they re-sign him, that changes the value very much so, whether it be a Stanley Cup final or not. If they don't re-sign him, it's Stanley Cup or bust. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me this evening for the breaking news, instant reaction, and analysis of this blockbuster trade. Leave a like if you haven't already, and of course, subscribe for ongoing breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey. Our NHL 24 franchise mode series, of course, with the Vancouver Canucks, so great timing. We're also doing an expansion series live on Thursday evenings. We're live Tuesday evenings with MLB The Show 23, soon to be MLB The Show 24. We have a lot going on here on the channel, and we'd love to have you join in as a part of it. Our link for the Discord server is in the description, where we're always talking hockey, breaking news, and talking about our own franchise modes and whatnot. So I'm sure we'll be live again soon. We're live tomorrow night with NHL 24 franchise mode. Okay. Oh, thank you. Bird says that the condition is if Calgary, if Lindholm signs an extension with the Canucks, then they get a 4th-round pick. So that's the condition there, it looks like. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Big love to everybody. Many thanks for everyone for being here for a late impromptu stream. I'm going back to some NHL 24 recording now. Everyone, have yourselves a lovely evening. Leave your thoughts down here in the comments if you watched after we already went live. What do you think about this trade? Who wins and why? And what do you need to see in the future to sway it for either team, whether it be the Canucks or for the Flames? Have yourselves a great rest of your evening, and we'll be back for breaking news when the next trade goes down in the NHL. Thanks for being here, and good night, everybody.